Hi, let's have a look at the SightReader tool. So let's open it first and we'll come across the options page. There we have the options page. There's a lot to look at. First of all, SightReader is one of my most popular features of my software, and right now what we're going to do is we're going to look at how to set it up. Let's just have a look at this panel here first. First of all, you have the key signature. Now you can choose from any number of key signatures here, and this has got use key signature. The blank key signature, this allows you to be able to play in the keys. So you have G, which requires an F sharp, but it won't be listed at the start of every stave. Most modern music, well, a lot of the modern music I've seen, has no key signature because there's a lot of key changes happening, or modal changes happening within the music. So you can click that and it'll have blank key signature. In the key of G there's an F sharp. What will happen is every time you get to F sharp, it'll show a sharp. In use key signature, at the start of every stave it'll show, well, at the start of the music it'll show that it has an F sharp, and so every time you come across an F, you play it like F sharp. Okay, so let's make a blank key signature. We'll change this back to C. Now when I do this, you'll notice that all the notes here change depending on which key signature I choose. So if I choose the key of say G, you'll see that there's an F sharp. Okay, change it back to C, you'll see that there's an F. Okay, so going back down the panel here, we've got any choice of scales. So we can choose C, I don't know, whatever scale we want. We'll just stick with major now because it's nice and friendly. This part here, selected note jump, means that we can choose how far the notes will jump from the previous note. If we have random, it'll choose all the notes and jump randomly between them. If we have intervals up to, we've got a combo box here, and we can choose one note away, which means that it'll jump only to the next note. If we choose a second option, it'll jump 2 notes away or 1 note away. If we choose 5, it'll jump 5 notes away or any number of notes underneath 5. So this is really good in just limiting the amount of damage the sheet music will do to you. Or you may be wanting to just challenge yourself a bit more. Clicking this button here will give you straight feel or swung eighths. Swung eighths is a big feature of swing jazz, and really, to simplify it, it basically means that you're counting triplets, 1 and you're missing out the and. 1, 2, 3, 4. Simplifying it a bit, if you have it straight, eighth notes will be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so you've got those two choices there. We've got our time signatures, 4/4, 3/4, 2/4, 1/4, 5/4, 7/8, 6/8 and 7/8 and 12/8. These are the most common key signatures you'll come across. Maybe not 1/4, but certainly 3/4, 6/8 and 12/8 are big common time signatures. Okay, so we'll just stick with 4/4 for now. Let's whip over to the guitar and I'll show you how to choose some notes. So you just simply click on them and they highlight in yellow, and what it's going to do is only choose the notes we've selected. This basically means you can set the music to your level. If you want to select a larger portion of notes and can't be bothered clicking on every single note, you can just click here and drag, and it'll select all those notes. Let's clean the fretboard and choose our notes that we were looking at. Alright, let's go to this main section. First we have presets. We can save it, we can write down the name of a preset here, click the plus and it'll add it to this list. We can load a preset by choosing one of these and pressing load, which I won't do right now. You can delete a preset by selecting one of these and pressing minus. Over here we have the deep editing button. We won't do that just yet. And clean fretboard, which you've seen me use before. Now down here is where we choose the timings of our notes. We've got whole notes, minims or half notes, crotchets or quarter notes, quavers or eighth notes, and semi-quavers, which are 16th notes. We can choose all of those. We can choose rests versions of those. We can have dotted versions, triplets. For you freaks, you can have groups of 5, and for you freaky people who are more than freaks, you can have groups of 7. And the way that you select these is you just, for example, we want to choose some eighth notes, so we just hover over it, and using our keyboard, we just press up and down on our arrow keys, and that will change the values. So let's change it. Right now you can see none. If I click this up button, you see it changes to rarely. You click it again and you get average, and the last value is often. So say if we want a lot of eighth notes and maybe a few rests like this and some crotchets, yep, maybe average, maybe a rest or two, yeah. Now when you choose whole notes, if you choose 12/8 or 7/8 or 6/8, basically it'll choose the version that will fit the whole bar. We don't want any of those right now, so we'll just flag that. Let's move down. We've got ties. You can choose rarely, average, or often. I'm going to choose none right now. Chord options. Now this is a very powerful feature. Right now we've got a choice between chart chords and notation chords. Let's go over chart chords first. So we just click on it for a start, and it's going to open up a window here. Now first of all, we're dealing with this key of C, the C major scale. We've chosen the major scale, and in C it shows us the degrees, and we can just drag these chords into this box here. Yeah. Over here it shows you the nomenclature, which is the jazz shorthand way of writing these chords. Let's choose D-7, and if we click on that, we can see that it shows us a nomenclature. What we're doing here is we're building a list of chords. Let's choose F major, C, G suspended 2. Now if we wanted to add some pizzazz, we can choose pretty much anything here like that. I like to add like an E7 just to spice it up. Add to chord list. So I've got a list of chords here that are going to be hovering over the top of the music, and it'll play a bass note of that note. The reason that this is so cool, and I'll close this right now, and as you can see it's changed this. It says chord list, click to change. The reason that I put this in is once I went for an audition for a jazz band on a cruise ship, and they presented me with a piece of sheet music which had the melody, which was fine, and had chords above it, but what they wanted me to do was play the chords with the top note being the melody. And so I thought, whenever I designed this particular version of SightReader, I thought we need that feature. So I'll show you that feature in practice in a second. The second version here, and we click on this, what it's going to do is it's going to list all our chord libraries. Now if we choose, for example, basic chords, we can just drag that in there. Maybe 251 voicings, these ones here, and maybe total chord collection. What this means is that it's going to choose notation chords. It's going to do chords and notation, and it's going to choose them from these chord libraries. If you don't know what chord libraries are, go check on the video and check it out. If you want to see the chord library, for example, you want to see 251, just right click on it open this chord library, or control click on if you're on Macintosh, and the chord library of this will open up, and you can see all the chords. These are the chord voicings that will turn up in the notation. Alright, so let's choose that, for example, and we'll change that to rarely. Over here are accidentals, and you can choose sharps and flats, or sharps, flats, double sharps, double flats. We'll just stick with sharps and flats. What this will do is it'll take one of these, or any of these notes, and sharp or flatten it, just to add a bit of confusion to the arrangement. Alright, now going back to the last feature on this window, you can click on this. These are all the note voicings, and you can deep edit them. Right now it looks quite uncomplicated. You can see them all, very nice. You can see your guitar fretboard, a few graphical tools that are completely redundant. But let's press S, and let's make this a lot more complicated. So we press S, and you can see that under each note there are your choice and your rests. And we've chosen 8 notes in our previous selection, and we can see that yes, that is often, and we chose rarely for some rests. I might want to add this group to my this particular group of notes for my 16th note, so I'm going to add it. So I add it rarely, just for fun, and maybe I'll add this one here, rarely. Okay, great. So I'll just go back out of that, back to options. Across the menu here we have a few other things. We've got guitar sounds. You can choose any particular sound for your instrument that's going to play. You've got pitch choice, music written for guitar, which sounds an octave lower than it is written. Then you have concert pitch, which is the music plays as written. Guitar is a transposing instrument, which means that when you read the music and you play it, it's actually going to sound one octave lower than any other concert pitch instrument playing it. There's some cool things about this. Okay, yes, this is all for guitar, but if, say, the girl who did the graphic design for my software is a flautist, so what she would do is she would choose concert pitch, and maybe she would choose the flute, and then she would select her notes and use that to learn to sight read. But she's not here right now, so we'll just change it back to what we like, and I'll choose electric clean for my guitar sound. We can export the presets to a file. We should be able to import them from a website and export them to a website soon. I'm just trying to get that feature up and going. We've got a selection of instruments. We don't have to choose guitar. We've got 4-string bass, 5-string bass, and 6-string bass, which we can also do exactly the same thing. Let's go back to guitar, and we'll choose our notes again. Great. Okay, now let's go to the SightReader window, and we click this button, and it'll take us there. Now here is where the action happens. You've got 2 pages. You've got your guitar fretboard with the notes. Handily, you only see the notes that we've chosen, so you don't see them all over the fretboard. We've got our C major key here. We've got our beats per minute, which can be changed by a comma in full stop, in tens, and in twos by using the bracket keys to the right of P on your keyboard. Yeah. So we'll choose 60. You've got stop, play, pause, and this will take you back to the options. And you can press O, and that'll do exactly that. See? Let's go back to the sight reader. Okay, now you've got 4 buttons here. G is for generate. This will generate a new page, and you need to do this if you want to update the page. You've changed the options, you want to change the page. You've got a metronome that will play at 60 beats per minute. You can print this, and you can select which stave to play from. You've also got a volume control, say if you're late at night, which I am right now. And so let's have a quick look at what would happen if we pressed G. So I press G. Okay, so we've got some notes. These are all the notes that we've chosen on this fretboard here. We've got our 8th notes, which we chose, and they're happening quite a lot. We've got the extra groupings that we chose. We chose this one, and we also chose this group of 4 16th notes. Now, when I look at these notes, I notice that the interval jump is only 1 note away. Okay, let's make it a little bit more interesting. Let's go back to options, and we'll choose, I don't know, 3 notes away. Go back to SightReader, we press G, it generates a new page for us. Yes. Oh, there we go. Okay, so you can see we've got some wider jumps here. Now, I'm going to play it to you, just so you can see that it plays. The timing engine on this is way more rock solid than anything I've ever done. Incidentally, this whole software program has been programmed in a completely different language. I used to use Visual Basic by Microsoft. Well, let me not speak evil of Microsoft too much, but this new programming environment, Zojo, is way more stable, and of course it's cool because I can deploy not only for Windows but also for Macintosh. So all the features that you see here, you can see in the Macintosh version. I'm using Windows right now, but it's exactly the same in Macintosh, or the Mac, if you will. Alright, so I've got my page here. Let's play it. And I can use spacebar or this play button. I'll just use the play button. So there's an intro click. As you can see, it's very, very stable. I'll just stop it there. Now, the problem is not finding the notes on the guitar with music. Okay, that's not the problem. And it's also not a problem to just count rhythms. Like the first bar here, I might just do this, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2E and a 3, 4 and, okay, that's not a problem. It's when you combine both of them together that the problem is. And so this sight reading tool is exactly achieving that goal of a particular tool which you can set at your own level to develop your abilities to sight read. Previous testimonials of my sight reading software, I've been doing it since 2001, if you can believe it. It's helped people pass exams, it's helped people learn to sight read when they thought they would never be able to achieve that goal. It's helped people to read music from other instruments, which is also very cool. One more thing about SightReader is that it can get very, very complicated. Now this, depending on your level of sight reading, this is quite easy, right? Okay, all you need to do is speed up the tempo and it gets a lot less easy. Speed up, you can go right up to... Okay, so you can see that it can get quite complicated. Another feature is print, so we can print out our sheet music. And I can choose my printer here. I won't do that. Let's add some chords. Okay, so let's go back to options. Basic chords. Oops. Basic chords. 251s. Total note voicings. Okay, so let's go back to SightReader. Let's press G. And let's see what we get. Alright, now the reason it hasn't chosen any chords is because there's a lot of chords use more than these 2 strings. In fact, the chord libraries that I've chosen use more than these 4 notes. So I'll just go back to options and I'll choose some more notes. Okay, so there we have some notes. So let's go back. and let's press G. Oh, there we go. Now we've chosen rarely, so we've only actually got maybe a couple of chords there. Let's play it. Alright, that's way too fast. Let's slow it down. Now, you may think to yourself, well, I don't even know the notes, so it may be a little bit premature for you to add chords if you're just really beginning. If you're really beginning from the start, I suggest that you check out SightReader Primer, which will teach you how to recognize notes. We can also see the note names. Let's do that. Let's press G, so you can see what's going on there. We'll just turn that off right now. Let's check out the second version of chords. We'll go to options, and we're going to choose this. We might just add average. What this is going to do is it's going to provide guitar chords across the top of the music. Not chord diagrams as such, but just notes, and it'll also play a bass line for us. The goal of this, of course, is to help you to be able to play chords with melody notes on the top note. And if you know much about chords, the top note is usually the melody note. So let's press G. Now I haven't got my guitar plugged in because it's like, I don't know, some ridiculous hour at night. It's actually 11:15, so I don't want to freak my flatmates out. So what you've got here is, now you can see we've got the chords here, and these chords are going to play a bass note, and the idea is, of course, to play a D minor 7 with a G at the top of the note. You may want to change this to concert pitch because these notes are quite we're going to sound a lot lower than what they are. So let's just go back to here, choose concert pitch, just to regenerate that page. Alright, so let's play it and see what happens. So there's the lead in. So it plays a really stupidly simple bass line, but here's how I would suggest going about learning to sight read. Okay, the previous software that I did with sight reading, what it would do is it would generate a random bar. It would generate bars on the fly. Now I thought to myself, well, that's all very well, but first of all, it's not really like reading music as if you picked up a sheet of music and you would read it. So what I decided in this version of my software is that I would present it as 2 pages of actual sheet music, similar to what you would see if you picked up a piece of sheet music. The other thing is, people they've requested a feature that says, okay, can you tell me the accuracy of my ability? Can you have the program listen to me and tell me how accurate I am? Well, my response to that is not really, because it kind of defeats the purpose of using your ears. If you can hear that you're not playing the same note as the actual written music, then you are not playing the same note. So by this you can judge your level of accuracy. When I think about doing this, before I would even play it, I would try and work out bars by myself. I would try and work out maybe how to play this line here, this whole stave here, and I'd use my metronome to give me a beat. So I go dan 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 dan, or whatever, and work out with the metronome. Then once I've got it so I can play the whole thing, then maybe I'll play along with it. Now you may think, simple music, yeah, it looks very simple. Okay, well, let's try and show you how difficult it can really get. So let's give you some really scary kind of things. Let's add some ties. We won't use chords right now. Okay. Let's give you some dots. Triplets. maybe distinguish the 5 a little bit. Let's add some, I think that will be quite sufficiently freaky enough. So let's go to SightReader and let's press G. Now if you can play this, then be my guest. Let's have a little bit of a listen to it and see what it sounds like. 60 beats per minute. Okay, now one last thing I want to show you is, see this little bar here, this button here, it says 1 to 8. Now this means that you can play from any one of these, because as you can see we've got 4 staves here, 4 staves here. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I wanted to play the second to last stave, I'd press the 7 on my keyboard, and it'll start from here and play right to the end. So it's going to start low, go high. Okay, so you can see that this SightReader is heavily, way more advanced than anything I've ever done. So this is the only software where you can get this kind of thing. It's been my pleasure to be the only one to actually provide a sight reading solution for both bass players and guitar players. Okay, back in 2001, there was nobody providing anything to help people learn to sight read for bass or guitar. So I thought to myself, well, why don't I do it? You know, and I mean, I had some programming experience from when I was 10 and 11 years old on the ZX81, which had a staggering 1K of RAM. So I learned the language, and I started off, my first program was Guitar SightReader, and then I did Bass SightReader. These are really basic programs. Then I had SightReader Master, and then I did a Guitar Freak Workstation with SightReader Master Extreme, which was even better than the first couple of programs. Well, now all those programs have been completely blown away by this new version, which I've spent 3.5 years designing. It looks good, and the music looks more like music. As you can see, this will help you to learn to sight read. You won't have to buy new sheet music. People recommend to you, okay, just find as much sight reading music as you can and just read it, okay? Well, this means that you don't have to buy the paper. You can just set your parameters and just learn to sight read just by pressing G. Of course, this translates over into real world applications. You'll be able to read music for violin, for other instruments. Enjoy the software and check out the other videos to see what else is going on in Guitar SightReader Toolbox. And I think that you'll agree there's a lot more than what you would expect to pay for it. Okay, so have a nice evening. I know I will. Ciao.